Okay, so introduce yourself.
My name's Stephen Partee. I'm a fourth year ag business major at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Played sports my whole life, mainly volleyball and competitive skiing. My background in sports is my father was an Olympic athlete and played at UCLA. My brother also played at UCLA for 3 years. And so I've been around a lot of collegiate sports and on the national team level.
Do you think women are treated equally to men in the world of sports?
I think it varies on sports, organizations, and level of competitive. Like, for example, on the college level with the Title IX Act, it allows for a more diverse playing field of women and men because scholarships have to be granted evenly. Um, so I think on like that level it is, and I know that does drop down to lower levels. I know Boys and Girls Club have to split their funds equally for guys and girls. So I think for the most part that there are steps in place to try to keep it as fair as possible.
Do you think women are as well respected as men in the sports world?
I think respect is a little hard to judge. I mean, obviously, male sports get more airtime than women's do. Um, I think there's jokes and things like that made about women's sports at certain times. So I would say in that regard, no. Um, I think overall, it's like I would respect a women volleyball player as much as a male volleyball player.
Stephen's response to this question is a good example of the hegemonic femininity behavior in the sports world. Michael Mesner defines hegemonic femininity as being characterized by girls' and women's embodiments of oppressive conceptions of feminine beauty that symbolize and reify a thoroughly disempowered stance. I believe that by him saying female athletes are not given the same respect as male athletes demonstrates this issue and shows that women's sports are not taken as seriously as male sports, and therefore, like Stephen said, women are given less airtime. Additionally, he mentioned the various jokes he has heard about females in the sports world and female athletes as a whole. This proves that women are not given an equal amount of respect and therefore are not taken as seriously in the sporting world. Do you think female athletes are portrayed differently on social media than male athletes?
I think until recently we were seeing a lot of women doing like the photo shoots, like if they're a good looking woman in sports, and they like you portray their sexiness or things like that. But we've actually been seeing a lot of guys recently having playing that role, like Tom Brady and athletes like that who are also appealing, I guess, to the women crowds and things like that.
It is evident that certain companies employ female bodies to market certain products. Big time female athletes will advertise sporting products with their bodies rather than their talents. However, as Stephen had mentioned, there recently has been a shift in this realm of advertising, and companies are now utilizing male physicality in addition to females. While it is good that males in addition to females are being used for advertising purposes in the same way, I urge you to ask yourself if you find this to be morally correct. Should companies be allowed to manipulate the human body for marketing purposes? Do you think female athletes are given the same benefits as male athletes when it comes to compensation, fame, advertising, and special privileges?
When you look at like the Williams sisters and what they were able to accomplish in tennis, there's both of them are seen as some of the best tennis players of all time. Whether they were a guy or a girl, obviously the playing field's going to be different because it's guys versus girls, and we both have guys are able to do certain sports better than women, and women are better at other sports than men. So I think that plays a big factor into it.
Feminism is a movement to end sexist opposition and the study of relations between the sexes. It involves scrutinizing gender stereotypes and evaluating their influence on socialization. I think in order to get a true understanding of equality in sports through a sociological lens, we need to bring up feministic beliefs. If women are treated equally, then they should be given the same opportunities on and off the field. Michael Mesner argues this well in his article Toward a Critical Feminist Reappraisal of Sport, Men, and the Gender Order when he says, quote, women have the same inalienable rights that men have, and stresses the similarities between the sexes, embraces a fundamental individualism, and presses for equal opportunity for women in education, government, and the economy. I wanted to better understand whether male athletes like Steven agree that the feministic wave we are in right now has truly impacted women, empowering them and making them feel more confident in the activities they partake in. Do you think that higher women involvement in sports has anything to do with the feminism wave that is occurring right now?
Oh, I mean, in my eyes, my family always raised me. If you were interested in a sport, you kind of went out and played it, no matter what anybody told you. And so maybe it's giving girls more of an opportunity to be confident in themselves and pursue it. But for the most part, I think if someone wants to go do something, they should just go do it, no matter who's trying to stop them.
A gender role is defined as a set of activities, behaviors, and exceptions assigned to males and females by society. Sarah Dorkin furthers this idea in her article From Ribbon to Wrist Shot, an autoethnography of atypical feminine sport development, when she says, quote, the generally accepted rule has been that girls participate in feminine sports and boys participate in masculine sports. Barring some exceptions to this rule, many children have experienced gendered segregation in the world of sport. In this next segment, I wanted to see if male athletes like Steven thought that the stereotypical gender roles have anything to do with the lack of female equality for women who participate in sports. Do you think that gender roles affect women's participation or lack thereof in sports?
I think nowadays, I'm probably back in like my parents' days, for the 60s, 70s, 80s, more. But now I think it's so even. There's such a wide variety of girls doing what guys used to do, and guys are now doing what girls are doing. So I would say I think it's getting a lot more balanced than it used to be.
Listening to Stephen's response and agreeing that our gender roles have changed over time, I urge you to ask yourself, what do you consider to be feminine or masculine? And do you believe that your thoughts and your feelings towards things that you consider masculine and feminine have changed over time? And do you think that they'll continue to change? Do you think that the way children are raised has anything to do with their involvement in sports? Are parents following gender roles?
More free reign, but I think there's more of that because there's also more sports that are now becoming popular. I mean, if you can take something as professional gaming as a sport now, which wasn't even seen close to that a few years ago. Surfing has become a worldwide sport that's broadcasted live. So I think there's just more coverage of more diverse, different types of sports, and it gives the opportunity for kids to grow up trying different things in different sports.
I agree with Stephen when he says that we have come a far way in sports in terms of moving away from stereotypical gender roles. You now see more sports that are offered as co-ed, in addition to seeing girls and women playing sports like baseball or flag football, while there are more males that are interested in things like cheerleading and competitive dancing. While we have made progress, there is no doubt that the more progress can be made so that children don't feel scrutinized for wanting to partake in certain activities, and furthermore, so women feel more comfortable being competitive in playing sports. Like Sarah Dorkin says, quote, women's subordination in sport is facilitated by the widespread control of women's expressions of physicality through ideology related to the overarching importance of women's reproductive role. And today it is framed effectively in terms of the risks associated with conventionally masculine sports.